Hey, and welcome to Friends and Neighbors. I'm your co-host Kelly Ingram, along with the beautiful guest co-host BJ Arnett.
Hello.
Hey, girl, and we've also got Donna Ritchie here. So, hey, Donna.
Hello.
We have a really serious show today, and the subject matter I really did not know much about until I kind of researched our next guest. It's Amber Lyons, and she is the founder of From Pain to Purpose. But before we go to her, I wanted to read you a little tidbit fact about domestic violence. And I don't know if either one of you knew this, but it says, domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women between the ages of 15 and 44 in the United States. That's more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. So it combined. So it is an epidemic, and I just was not educated on it because I've never had to experience it before. But like I said, our next guest, you're also a survivor and the founder of From Pain to Purpose. I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for being here, Amber. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So let's kind of dive right in. What is it that your organization does for domestic abuse victims?
Well, what we do, my organization From Pain to Purpose is an domestic violence and teen dating violence awareness advocacy organization in the community where we work with survivors, we work with people who just want to know about information. We are there to equip, to educate, to empower, and to encourage the community in regards to the issues of domestic violence and teen dating violence, which are critical issues within our communities today.
How do the statistics from the U.S. stack up against the state of Georgia, since you're in the state of Georgia?
Well, the state of Georgia is currently ranked 10th in our nation in regards to women being killed by intimate partners in domestic violence situations. In 2012, according to the Georgia Commission on Domestic Violence, there was 128 deaths related to domestic violence situations, and out of those 128, the highest rated county is the county where I live, which is the DeKalb County. They had 11 deaths related to that, and last year the next highest county is Fulton County with 10, and then Richmond County, and then Gwinnett County. So within our counties in which we live in Georgia, this is a very serious issue, and it's just, when you look at it and you say the Georgia fatality rate, you look at the reviews that they did and you say 128 people, that may not sound like a lot. That's a lot when you're talking about domestic violence and people being killed. And do you know that 76% of those deaths had issues regarding firearms? They were killed by firearms. So when you have someone who is an abuser, having a firearm in the house is not a good situation.
Right. Not a good combination.
Not at all. And 36% of those the person actually tried, the perpetrator either committed or attempted to commit suicide after killing their victim. And then 16% actually they killed someone else.
Wow.
Who might have been there with the victim, a relative, or just someone else that might have been an innocent bystander.
Are you finding, and you may not know, I don't know, but I'm just curious to ask, is the abuser normally, statistically speaking, does he have a record, a rap sheet, a history of having violence in his home or her home as a young person growing up? I mean, isn't there always like a root to cause this behavior?
There is a root, and in the majority of situations, you do have a cycle that has been perpetuated in the home where the person did grow up in a home that had domestic violence in it. But you do have issues and situations where this is something that's being transferred within relationships, and you begin to see it's becoming like the norm, especially amongst our young people.
Yes.
Some of them may not have that in their home. I know someone who actually, they never had domestic violence in their home, but yet they ended up as a young lady, a college student, in a relationship with someone who actually was an abuser to her.
Right.
So it goes both ways, but out of the most, we can say that it is a cycle that is being perpetuated, and you do see the learned behavior.
How do you know, what are some signs that to look for? Because not only is it in marital situations, but now it has bled over to dating.
Yes.
What are some of the signs
Well, some of the
Especially if you hadn't been accustomed to it, like you just said.
Some of the signs that you can look for and some red flags are if someone is like very controlling. And the thing about it is that, you know, especially when you're young, you might see the person, you might see the person as always wanting to know where you are, always want to be around you, always want to have check up on you, texting you, trying to find out. You think, oh, they're really into me, you know, or they really love me, but you may not realize that those are behavior patterns that are controlling, and they're trying to control. And before you know it, because remember, when you get into a relationship, the abuser's not going to just walk up to you and slap you and think you're going to date them.
Right, that's true. Well, that makes sense.
They love you and they pull you in. They want a relationship.
And the Mr. High, he's going to show you that wonderful side of him first. So you're going to be into the relationship so deep by the time that side comes out. And that's where we get into it, one of the reasons why people stay. But jealousy, controlling behavior, if you happen to know of past, people have said in past that this person might have had, you know, issues regarding abusive relationships before, those are signs that you can look for.
You know, I think one of the things that is one of those little known facts is that it's on both sides of the table. Men are abused and women are abused.
Yes.
And you really caught my attention because I've been through this personally, so I know the story personally. But when I look at my young people, I get very concerned about how they even communicate because they're not communicating verbally most of the time. Most of the time they're like this. So when it's time to communicate here and have a tough conversation, they don't know how to do a regular conversation, more or less a tough conversation. What do you think is one of the things that we can bridge the communication gap that is some of the issue with today's youth being in such turmoil with domestic violence?
I think that one of the things that needs to happen is we need to have more social skills taught in school. Communication and also conflict resolution. Because of the fact that you don't know how to resolve conflict, you become volatile and violent, and that's not the way to resolve it. And that's where we, get into bullying and a whole lot of other issues. The topic of violence just goes so deep and so far, and we happen to hone in on and have used the platform of domestic violence and teen dating violence, but violence is violence.
That's right.
And you have to learn how, you can't get mad because you're not being understood. What we need to do is learn how to communicate with one another, come to a meeting of the minds, and understand that I may have a side and you may have a side, but we can, if we have to, agree to disagree, but we need to be able to do that. Some people don't have those type of conflict resolutions within them, so I think that's something that definitely needs to be done, and that's why we're trying to get more of this teaching into the schools, so that our young people can be able to have these tools and resources to be able to have better relationships.
Well, also, abuse is not just physical.
No, it's
because
not.
they're now, over the past, couple of decades or so, it's mental abuse. Mental abuse, to me, is just as bad as physical abuse.
You're absolutely right.
Verbal abuse, you know, and putting people down and, and trying to make make change into something that they're not.
Well, that's exactly what domestic violence is. That's exactly what domestic violence is. It's a behavior or pattern and cycle of violent behavior where one person exhibits authority and control, power and control over another individual through violent behavior patterns, and it's not just physical. And that is one of the myths that people think. If they don't see you with a black eye, if they don't see you with a broken arm, or God forbid someone end up in the hospital or killed, then there's nothing going on. But people are being killed, their spirit is being killed every day because of verbal abuse, because of mental abuse, somebody playing mind games on you. If you're going through things like that on a daily basis, no one can say you're not being abused. That is abusive behavior. There's sexual abuse, and these are the forms that domestic violence is exhibited through: financial abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, and physical abuse. And these one is just as bad as the other. We cannot say because you're not ended up dead or in the hospital that you're not being abused and that you're not causing damage, not just to that person, but how about the children in the home?
That's right. All who hear it are affected. In my personal experience, it was an emotional clamp down. It was, you are not good enough. You can't be anything without me. You can't do anything. How could you start a business? So after a while, you begin to think, well, wait, I can't do anything. Well, wait, I can't. And then if your response is, at any second, yes, I can, then that's when the physical abuse begins, because you can't fight your way out of a mental state without opening your mouth.
Right.
You have to.
And the abuser has to come to the place where they understand that they are the one with the problem. But what ends up happening is they throw that off on the victim, and the victim ends up thinking, I have the problem. What am I making them do? Why is it that they're doing this to me? What is wrong with me? You know, but it's not your problem. It is the problem of the person that is causing the abuse. So that in order for us to end this cycle, we have to get a hold of, working with the victims and getting them resources and bring them to a place of being able to live a healthy lifestyle. But we have to deal with the abuser.
Yes.
And we have to get them to
find out what's going on with them.
They have to come to the place of not denial, but saying, there's something wrong here, and I want to change it.
What do you tell someone? Because, I mean, I was going to say, what do you tell women? But it's not just women now. There are men that are being abused as well, and children. Yes. So how do you get out of that cycle? How do you break that cycle? Because fear is the big tactic that they use. And so if they can get you fearful, then you won't say anything, you won't do anything, but you'll sit there and take it.
Yes, fear, shame, embarrassment, denial, all of these things are reasons why they can hold you there. And you know you don't want to live like this. You know that this is not the way you're supposed to be living. You know this. You don't want your children to see, even if they've never seen a physical lash or something, if just to hear the constant, berating and the arguing and the fighting, and that verbal, that's enough to mess up their mind. So what you have to do is you have to let them know that you are concerned about them, that you have a concern, and you have to, when they come to the place where they're willing to speak about it, you have to believe them. One of the things you have to remember is that a lot of times people may not say anything because they don't think they're going to be believed. You have the abuser tell them, nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to believe what you have to say, and especially if they're the breadwinner in the home.
That's right.
If they're the person that has all the control, and that might be maybe possibly a stay-at-home mom or something, you feel inferior. So here you have this person who is telling you all of this stuff, that what they can do to you and to your family, or to destroy the rest of your life. You feel inadequate. You feel helpless. So you have to let them know that you understand that they're going through something. You may not know what it is, but you're here for them. That gives them a way to know that they have a support. Believe it or not, a lot of family members who actually have tried to help victims come out of situations and they stay or go back, they get tired of, they just been in this for all of these years, I'm just tired, I'm just done. But you have to have someone that's going to go the long haul with you. Somebody's not going to be, that's not going to give up on you. And I say, if you just pray and ask God to send you help, God will put someone in your path to give you a telephone number, to give you some resources, so you can be able to get some of the help you need. And you have to take it one step at a time, because everybody cannot just get up and leave. Some people's lives are truly in danger.
That is a good word. Speaking of which, give us your website real quick. Our time is up.
My website is From Pain to Purpose, FromPainToPurpose.com.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate everything you do. Thank you so much for being with us. Don't go anywhere, though. We got another incredible guest. We'll be right back.